Lovely cushioned header. But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty! What a head, son! What a head!
Yes, guys, welcome back to Two Res Podcast with me, Scott Nichol, and James O'Brien to go over everything. Manchester City 0, Liverpool 2 is the rampant Res, got 11 points clear in the chase for a 20th Premier League title. James OB, that was routine, it was perfect, it was a defensive masterclass, it was control, it was Arne Slot, the very best of him since he's come to the Premier League. Salah, I've never seen a performance like that, probably all season. There's been accusations that he drifts in and out of games. He was everywhere. Dijk Szoboszlai, he's probably ran 2 marathons today. What an absolute performance. But Manchester City, yes, they might be a shadow of themselves over the last 8 years, and definitely from the 4 in a row league winners that we've seen on the background of the Sky Sports panel. But you still have to beat them. Beat them we did. It was routine. Manchester City, what has happened to you? But this is all about Liverpool and our 20th league title. Pep Guardiola, Stephen Ireland, Sean Wright-Phillips, Sean Gota, Elano, Sven-Goran Eriksson, Stuart Pearce, Mark Hughes. You got any more to add? Roque Santa Cruz, Benjani.
Curly Watts from Corrie.
Curly Watts from Corrie.
Get it up, yeah.
Your boys took one hell of a beating.
Oh,
With
mate,
the Two Reds podcast, and we're going to go over this. James O'Brien, thanks for joining as always. What do you think?
Oh well, it was a great win, wasn't it? Let's start with that. I think it's a tough place to go. I think everybody was nervous about it going into the game, especially after a couple of draws. That actually turned out over the test of time to actually be really good away draws that we'd had against Everton and Villa, both very difficult places to go, especially for Liverpool. I think that we set up slightly differently with them 2 10s, which was very weird. We were trying to work out before the game, Scott, how we were going.
Didn't it? It looks like Arne Slot's trying to do something funky.
Yeah, and you were right. It was slightly different. I think there was points where we were almost playing 4 up top. At points 44. In that first half, which looked like we lost a little bit of control, but we were pressing. And then we weren't pressing, and we're sitting in like a mid-press. But it was obviously set up to try and cause them problems. I thought Foden had quite a lot of space early on, and then we just got to grips with it. At one point, Van Dijk went into midfield, and we were playing what I can only describe as a 3-3-4 in the setup, which was really interesting. So they set up slightly differently. They tried to play something different, and we overall we got to grips with it. We defended well, and I think that was the key takeaway from the whole game was the way we defended, and it broke their hearts. You could tell it broke their hearts.
Oh, massively. Like obviously winning 2-0 away at the Etihad, and all I keep thinking of is that defensive masterclass. Hence, Virgil van Dijk is a thumbnail with his fist in the air. It looks like he's going to become only the second Premier League Liverpool captain to lift the Premier League trophy. He was absolutely incredible today. Alisson was incredible. All the defenders. I mean, Trent and Robertson have been much maligned over probably the last 2 or 3 months. Definitely Robertson anyway. Trent maybe not so much, but Konate, it was an absolute masterclass. Obi, we were like a cobra. We snapped in life when we needed to, grab the goal, grab the second, but then it was just attrition all the way, soaking up any kind of idea that they had. I mean, especially that Doku.
Yeah.
I mean, Doku come his first few games, he looked like prime Cristiano Ronaldo, and by the end of it, he looked like a bad Steve Guppy.
Yeah, he's basically a step over Merchants who's almost like regressed in that Cristiano Ronaldo journey back to that 17-year-old who used to do loads of step overs and get nowhere. But I think with Doku, I think he must be really frustrated because the clear game plan was to have a go at the fullbacks from their side. Sometimes outnumber the fullbacks and have a pop at them, but it was about Doku getting it Trent. He got past him plenty of times. He just didn't get anywhere with the ball. He just could not get the ball in. It was stationary. There was no target man in there for him to go at. And that was all because of the way we defended, all because of the way we defended in that block, in that compact way. And any cutback was going straight into Gravenberch or Konate or Van Dijk, and they were just sucking it up time and time and time again. And that just shows quality. That just shows absolute masterclass out not having possession. They would have played till midnight. They wouldn't have scored a goal past us. They wouldn't have. It would have just gone on and on and on the same way. And that broke their hearts. It did. It broke their hearts because they wanted to play this game where they were all over our fullbacks and causing us problems with movement in the box, and we just snuffed it out. And everything that came into that box was just to a Liverpool player, and that was because of the position, the discipline.
They look so one-dimensional with Doku. Like, I remember they put him on. It might have even been at half-time against Man United in the FA Cup final. And it's literally like he's this plan B, give it to Doku and let him create something. That's all they kept doing, especially in the second half. And Trent was he probably had one of his easiest afternoons of the season. And it just does not work. Football is much more technical than that. And, you know, that's probably the worst of Man City, when their only outball is out to Doku on the left wing, and then nothing really happens. But yeah, I mean, at the start of the game, when you see no Haaland, you see some quality on the bench. Like Diaz was on the bench. They had that. I can't even remember. Is Kusanov, is it? The centre back.
Yeah.
The new sign's only 20. I mean, if he's not the next Kabak, remember Kabak on loan? In the 2021 season, you see him and you just think, my God, if we've ever got a chance to win at the Etihad, it is here, it's now, it's today, and my God, did we take it?
And I mean, going on to the first goal, it's an opportunistic moment. But I heard Slot saying post-match that they actually decided to work on it yesterday, and someone come up with it, and he said it wasn't me. He says we were talking about it, and they did a really good analysis piece in Sky after the game where they talked about the blockers and everybody playing their part, and the pass from Szoboszlai. I mean, if he doesn't get that right, that doesn't happen, and it was just perfect because you only get one shot at it. That's what they were saying. You've got to get it right one time. It's got to be the first time. Otherwise,
can't
teams
try it again because they're wise to it. But you're right, it was inch perfect, wasn't it?
It was absolutely perfect, and an overshot took a deflection, but that's because Salah had he had a shot. He was on the penalty spot and he was smashing it, and there was defenders in the way. But that's what they wanted. They wanted him in that position, and ultimately they got him to that position by playing an absolutely perfect set piece. Absolutely perfect.
Have we just out-Arsenaled Arsenal?
They're
not going to start calling us Stoke, are they, OB? Please.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I think it's only our third or fourth goal from a set piece this season. So we haven't scored many, which is surprising considering we've got Trent in the team. So there you go. I mean, we're bottom of that league, whereas Arsenal was sitting on like 20 or something from set pieces. So we've got a long way to go, and obviously we need to understand that that's how Arsenal are focusing nowadays. But we've got more to our game than that. And the other interesting thing was Gary Neville talked about it during the commentary was we would go through stages in little 5-10 minute spells of playing different ways. So suddenly we'll pass the ball out from the back. Suddenly we're happy to give up possession in little periods. Suddenly we're looking to do something with a ball over the top into running. Now that must be difficult to play against, but it's really interesting because my oldest son, Harvey, actually said to me, he says, somebody on the pitch must be triggering that little period of doing that. He says, and I wonder who it is. He goes, because Slot couldn't go, right, okay, 5 minutes of this now, boys. Because that just wouldn't work. It's almost like somebody on the pitch, and it's probably the captain, is going, right, we're going to play this way now. And they almost dictate it, which is absolutely brilliant. It's amazing to watch. There was one where they thought they had us hemmed in at one point. We just played the ball around them. And we just come out and we got into space, and next thing you know, we're 3-on-3. And it's like we knew we were going to have to do that at points in the game. And it's almost like Slot's moved away from having this Klopp heavy metal football to go in this situation, you can do this or you can do this, but you work it out in play. And you work it out as a group, and somebody makes that call.
Game intelligence.
Exactly. And it's a different level to what it was even under Klopp. Because we'd always have one way and always have that vulnerability of being the counter to the counter or making a mistake, but it was accepted. Whereas now we're almost like playing we're playing 4D chess when everybody else is still got the little board out that they got when they were 5 years old from school. You know what I mean? We're way ahead. We're way ahead.
How much do you think? I mean, we've got to talk about our closest rival over here. We're going to call them a closest rival. I mean, it's getting a bit of a laugh now, but our closest rival, Arsenal, dropping points at West Ham at home yesterday. And if we rewind just a week ago, at home to Wolves, we were 2-0 up against Wolves, seemingly coasting. The next minute's panic stations for the whole of the second half. Today, there was none of that. Do you think that Arsenal performance yesterday give us that relaxation, that confidence to think this is almost a gimme? Away at the Etihad to Man City, we're 2-0 up and we're coasting again. There was no panicking. It was just complete control. Whereas there was absolutely no control last Sunday. Do you think that Arsenal defeat yesterday has given us that kind of comfort, that relaxation to be like, let's just go out and source almost. Let's just relax and control every game, not panic, see out this result. It was just ultimate control.
Yeah, and don't you think some of that's to do with when we're the away team, it feels like we're a little bit more controlled, Scott? Because I honestly believe that, I mean, we haven't lost away in the league all season. We look like we're more in control because teams come on to us more. Whereas at Liverpool, you've got this situation of expectation of the home crowd. I know I'm probably talking myself into going, well, out the 11 games we've got left, 7 of them are at home, so maybe this isn't a positive thing. But it just felt like today was the right game to have that level of control. So, I mean, from my perspective, I think we were probably supported by that result yesterday, and whether it's in the players' minds or unconsciously or consciously, and it probably did make a difference. It gave us almost a free hit to go, we can go and win this positively rather than we need to look over our shoulder. What do you think, Scott? Do you think it made a difference?
Yeah, 100%. There was just something, and it's weird because after Villa away midweek, drawing 2-2, and again, we probably should have won if Núñez wasn't the worst striker since El Hadj Diouf. It was almost a feeling of, are we on the edge of the wheels falling off? Is this it? Just like last season in Klopp's final season, where we were in a handsome position, almost on the same amount of games. The wheels fell off, the fatigue sets in, the adrenaline's gone. It's almost like, is it going to be a replica? Again, are we exhausted? We're still in the League Cup final to come. We're still in the Champions League. We've still got 12 games to go in the league, which is, a pessimist will say there's still a third of the season to go, whereas an optimist will say we're in the home straight, 8 points clear. It was a feeling that the wheels could be falling off. And this performance today of, as I just said, complete control, organisation, 11 players knowing exactly what to do, as you just said, as Harvey alluded to, just pointing out the little triggers to do the right thing at the right time for 5-minute spells to control. This was a champions elect performance of absolute perfection from Arne Slot, who got it bang on yet again. He's got so much right this season. He had Gakpo on the bench, he had Jota on the bench, he had Tsimikas not starting over Robertson. I noted that Robertson had played 90 minutes the last 2 games, 90 minutes in like 7 or 8 days. Is that too much for Robertson? With the form he's in, the fitness, he opted for him, he opted for Trent, he opted for Jones to start over Gakpo and Jota, to join Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch in the centre. It was just, everything was perfection. He is an absolute master of making the right calls in his debut season in the Premier League, and none of this makes sense. None of it.
And that probably rhymes back to the conversation that they must have had at the interview stage of when they talked to him, Scott, and he must have give them so much good information and so much interesting takes on how he would go about doing the job. And it must have been a kind of almost a natural moment to go, this is the next stage of what we've got. We know we've got the players in place. So now we've got a manager who's going to probably do things not too differently to upset the apple cart, but a little bit differently. And he believes he can manage it through and he has confidence. He's very calm. And he won't talk about league titles till it's done. I'm sure he won't. He won't get too excited till it's done. You know what I mean? He'll just be on the level. We'll be going. We know what we need to do. We know how we need to perform it, and just keep playing and playing and playing through that period. And he referenced it as well that when we're away at Villa, apparently that was a terrible result, and he was under a lot of pressure, and suddenly everything was going wrong. And he says, sitting 4 days later, suddenly it's the opposite. He says we're cruising it. Exactly. But I mean,
we put in a few memes, didn't we, in the last couple of days in the Liverpool group chat. There was talk of it being only 5 points ahead of Arsenal with them having a game in hand. Is that right?
Yeah.
If you do the maths, so they planned on beating West Ham, us getting beat by Villa and Man City. The next minute, we're 11 points clear, albeit playing a game more.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, we've got to think to ourselves, we're only 8 points clear, because anything else is a bit of a false position. So you've got to assume the other team in the title race would get the 3 points. If they don't, that's great. That's fine. You know what I mean? I think that from my perspective, it's that 8 points and how that plays out. What I would say is, from what I've seen of Arsenal won't win all the games. We're not up against a prime City hunting us down. We're not up against a team that are showing enormous resilience to get the job done in big games. You know, we're seeing a team that's actually faded from where they were last season and the season before, and are the best of the rest. But let's be honest, they're nowhere near the standard of the Liverpool team, and that Liverpool ability to just get the job done that they're showing this season is shining through in every single game.
They're fighting out for second place, though, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're scrapping out for second place. I mean, Arsenal conceded the title about 4 weeks ago. I can't remember who they got beat by, who they dropped to, but on Arsenal fan TV, they were like, Kroenke this, Kroenke that. We didn't get back. We need a striker in the January transfer window. We didn't get backed. And then we're looking over our shoulder thinking, can Arsenal catch us? I mean, realistically, what was their front three yesterday? Marino, YNWA, and Trossard.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't got enough.
Bench, and we're worried about them catching us. It's absolute. No. I mean, it's in the bag, let's be real. Yeah. But just to point out quickly, Obi, there is still a lot of football to be played.
There is.
Not that we've got a huge following, and this is going to come back to bite me in the arse, but the video that was coming out a couple of weeks ago was when we beat Arsenal 5-1 at Anfield on the 8th of February 2014. Do you remember it? I love every 8th of February, seeing Suarez, Sterling, Sturridge. Love that video. But that's when we just started to kick into gear. We went on a mad run where I think we won the next 10 games. The next minute, the league is kind of in our hands. If you think it's only like the 23rd of February now, it just shows how much football is still to play. There's more than a quarter of the season to go, less than a third, but it's an absolute dream position. And Arsenal have got to play the next 2 games away from home. Away to Forest, who are pretty much flying. They can score against anyone. And away to Man U, who on their day, they can cause anyone problems, as they showed against Arsenal in the FA Cup. On the other side of that, our next 3 are at home in the league.
Yeah, and you know what the other interesting thing... Yeah, the other interesting thing is, Scott, if you look at the remaining fixtures, we've got one more in February, which is fine, because we're sitting towards the end of February. We've got one league game in March. So it's all April and May weighted, which... if we do what we're expecting to do in the Champions League and sort of, I mean, we've got a tough draw, and let's not sort of look past PSG. But if we go deep in that competition, we're going to have a whole world of games where we're going to be playing after big Champions League games. And I think that's going to continue to be a challenge. Interestingly, though, I mean, he didn't play. I mean, Jota, I think, is probably not back at full fitness. He's taking a little while to get going again. Gakpo, he didn't miss today. I think he would have done if he was fully fit, but he had probably adapted the system accordingly because Gakpo had been out for a bit. Obviously, just come back, and he didn't bring Jota or Nunez on. He brought Gakpo on right at the end for Diaz. So it kind of shows that we've got firepower waiting there. We didn't even bother to use. Whereas I think years ago, we looked at our benches and think that looks weak. I'm looking at a bench and thinking we could go any way we want to. We can bring Endo on and go even more defensive. Do you know what I mean? We can play about with Tsimikas and Robertson. We can bring Kwanzaa on for Trent and become more effectively defensive as a unit and get these people off the pitch and give them a little bit of respite. And also as well, we can afford to leave the odd player out. Now, I would say excluding probably Virgil and Salah in a big game, I think we could afford to drop any of the others in isolation, given the squad that we've got. It's just them two players there.
Actually, when you think of Alisson, but Keller has never put a glove wrong.
No.
You think Connor Bradley, if he's fit, he was the one. And that's the thing I noticed today. We've only got 2 players injured at the minute, Connor Bradley and Joe Gomez. Other than that, everyone's fit as we go into like the business end of the season. I mean, that is absolutely huge, especially when I just mentioned, Arsenal's front 3 at the minute. They've got a patched up front 3 and they're bringing Sterling off the bench. We've got a fully fit squad. And we've got Gakpo and Jota ready to come on and fill in for the last 20, 30 minutes to strengthen or see out a game or nick a goal. And that's how you win league. Simple as that.
Of course it is. And someone like Nunez can be effective against a Southampton or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I would say, and save the big boys for the bigger games.
No, Nunez is never, ever going to play in another Liverpool game if I had my way. He's absolute pony. But one player that is playing a huge part in this title race, and I think he's only going to get better and he's going to have more influence. How good was Endo when he come on again? Do you know what Endo reminds me of? He reminds me of me or you. If we ever got a chance to play in this Liverpool team, throwing his body on the line, jamming into challenges, smashing into players. He's just everywhere, running his heart out. Almost, I've said it before, almost like a headless chicken. But Lucas Leiva made a reputation at Liverpool for putting his body on the line and charging about the pitch. Endo, when you're 2-0 up away to Man City, there's nothing I like to see more in the world than Endo come onto that pitch. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I do like him. I think he's a good option for us to decide to shut down a game as well. Someone like that, because he just makes it difficult, even more difficult to break us down. So he's got that option, and that squad lends to it, doesn't it? I mean, big shout out to Szoboszlai today, because I think the energy he has in the team makes such a massive difference to what that Liverpool team do. You made a really good point. Now we're past he's not going to be the next Steven Gerrard because he hasn't got the probably the skill set. What he has got is he's got that bursting energy to just hunt, and he's dragging Curtis Jones along with him, because Curtis Jones has been competing for a place with him all season, and Jones is probably thinking, I need to do that. And I don't know if you noticed today, on about 70-something minutes, there was a point where Curtis Jones just looked like he put his head to the sky and was just breathing like he'd gone. And I was like, he's going to need to come off. A couple of minutes later, he did. You know what I mean? But I don't mind that. I don't mind that effort, that lung bursting energy that we're putting in. And it's about having them people around. But Dominic Szoboszlai, what an amazing talent.
Did you see him on the 89th minute closing down Diaz and forcing him to pass back to the keeper? I mean, a full-on sprint on the 89th minute, away to Man City, 2-0 up. And I just sat there thinking, you are worth your weight in gold. When there's accusations thrown around that Liverpool might be getting burnt out, some players have been overused, maybe the likes of Gravenberch or something. He's getting stronger. He's getting fitter. He's getting more active. I said it in the Liverpool group chat, I think it was around half-time, world-class scouting from Liverpool as a club. And I don't give FSG much praise, but they get a lot right. They've got a few things wrong, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to the scouting network, to scout Gravenberch, to scout McAllister, to scout Szoboszlai, it was just world-class.
Really
and
clever.
You think back to the time when we all pretty much to a man wanted to spend that whole 100 million on Jude Bellingham. Instead, we spent that 100 million on them three, and it's shrewd business and it's paying dividends. And all three of them in their second season are going to be a Premier League title winner.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And ultimately, it's about us just making sure that we've got the players. So the quality of the squad by adding them three instead of one has just meant that we've got depth. We've got depth and we've got options, and slots come in to a squad where he can go, right, okay, I'm going to do this today. What system do I want to change it to? How do I want to tweak the setting that we've got without upsetting the flow of the team? And then just going, right, okay, so what have the opposition got? And he's got everything in his armory. If he wants to go defensive, he's got Uendos, people like that. If he wants to go more attacking, he's got a whole bereft of talent there. If he wants to do something different with 2 false 9s stroke a number 10s in Szoboszlai and Jones, he's done that today. It just gives him so many more options on how to approach it. And the beauty is he's only bought Chiesa. So this summer, he's going to have a bit to spend, I would have thought, Scott. And off the back of that, he can go, right, okay, so what players in that squad do I not fancy? What players do I not truly trust? And then just play it through and go, okay.
Replace because they're not signing a new contract.
Yeah, exactly that. And it could be that, I mean, you keep hearing these rumours that 2 of them have signed and they're not saying anything because they're trying to get the third one over the line. And the more that it goes on, the more I think that is the case. So I think Salah and Van Dijk have signed their contracts. I really do. And it's just a case of they've come to that agreement and it's all gone quiet for that purpose of trying to get Trent over the line. But we'll see how it all transpires.
I hope so. Did you watch Sky Sports after the game? That's why we were a little bit late on, soaking up the coverage.
Yeah, I saw bits of it.
Micah Richards, Roy Keane, obviously Jamie Carragher. Who was the 4th? Daniel Sturridge.
Yeah.
They're talking about next season. Can Liverpool, can Arne Slot, will Salah sign, will Van Dijk sign? Can they go again? Can they win more trophies? Can they win another Premier League? Can they push on? And I'm sat there thinking, just talk about this season. Why are you talking about next season like it's a done deal? I mean, it probably is. But let's bask in what Arne Slot has done this season. Let's bask in the fact that Liverpool, it wasn't just Jurgen Klopp and his genius. I know he's had a huge part to do with this anyway, and with this squad that Slot inherited. But let's talk about now. Why they're already talking about next season, and that's when you think this really is done and dusted, isn't it? When Roy Keane, you know what he's like. He won't just say, "Yeah, Liverpool this season they've done this, they've done that, they've been fantastic." As Peter Crouch once said, "Man City, congratulations, you've been a shark." Let's just talk about this season. But they're already talking about next season. Can they maintain? Can they build on it? Can they do this? And I'm sat there thinking, let's just enjoy this for now. We'll just beat the Man City away from home, 4 Premier Leagues in a row, the team that apparently no one could beat against the best manager that's ever lived. And we've just absolutely tucked them in.
Exactly that. And we've done them over in such a way that it was so controlled as well. And I think that's really important. I think us managing that control matters loads.
Huge. I mean, let's just get a look at that beautiful league table.
Wow.
Played 27, won 19, drew 7 and lost 1, 64 points to 53, 11 points clear. Arsenal away to Forest and Man United next. Our next 3 are at home. I mean, this could be wrapped up. I tweeted about half an hour ago that it's going to hit different when the Arsenal squad give Liverpool a guard of honour at Anfield on the 10th of May. What do you think about that, Obi?
That's beautiful.
Stay humble, Obi. Really... Stay humble.
Can you imagine Arteta's face? He would just be absolutely fuming, wouldn't he?
That'd be brilliant.
But what they do probably need to do is
200 million in the summer.
Yeah, on no strikers because he wants to prove a point. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. And at the end of the day, he's losing out to what is essentially a better team. And he has to accept it, doesn't he? There's no other way around it. He knows what he's come up against. And if the league's not done by that point, we'll make sure we get it over the line against them. And if the league is done by that point, I'm sure they'll love doing that guard of honour and clapping us out because the Bulls win the league.
Love it. Obi, 20th Premier League title, Old First Division, whatever you want to call it. We've won 20 league titles. after thinking probably from the 30 years before 2020, we're never going to win it again. We can't compete with like the Russian money and all stuff like that. We're going to win a second Premier League in 5 years' time. That hits different in itself.
It does. And I think a movement from the...
Sorry, mate, what were you saying?
I was going to say, it just feels different. It feels like a movement from the Shankly era over to the Paisley era. And it's almost like from the Klopp era over to the Slot era. And isn't that just beautiful? It's beautiful to see.
Oh, it's amazing. I feel like I owe Arne Slot a huge apology, because I said we'll be back to the Roy Hodgson days back in July. How wrong could I have been? But we're going to save that for a league-winning podcast once it's in the bag. I'm probably going to give a huge apology for half an hour on another podcast. But for now, Obi, thanks for joining me. We're going to be back Wednesday night. Are we playing Newcastle?
Cheers, Scott.
Are we Wednesday night?
Yeah, I think it's Wednesday night, so we'll be back for that.
For Match Reaction, make sure to join us. Anyone, if you've made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. Obi, take it easy.
Mella, lovely cushion header. But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty!